I found a jar labeled Adoption Fund. I first took Grace into my home when she was 7, quiet, shy. Folded her clothes like she'd been trained to do it with military precision. I didn't know much about her except that she'd been bounced around from home to home, never staying long. At the time, I was barely holding it together, working construction during the day and cleaning offices at night just to cover rent. But something about Grace's voice the first time we met stuck with me. She sounded tired, not just physically, but like her spirit had already seen too much. Turning my back on her wasn't an option. That was 3 years ago. She had never called me Dad, not once, until this one Friday when she went on a class field trip. While she was gone, I finally had time to deep clean the apartment. Her room was always tidy, but I figured I'd vacuum, maybe dust a bit. That's when I found it, tucked behind a stack of sketchbooks, under her closet shoes. A mason jar, heavy, labeled in careful handwriting, Adoption Fund. At first I thought it was some school project, but inside were coins, wrinkled dollar bills, and a little notebook. Page after page, she tracked every cent down to the penny. Her handwriting was neat, deliberate. At the very back, she'd done the math. Adoption costs. If I keep saving lunch money, I can pay for it in 6 more years. Underneath that, a crayon drawing of me and her holding hands. Above it, real family. I just sat there on her bed, jar in hand, unable to move. I didn't cry right away. It was more like something clenched tight inside my chest. All this time, she thought she had to earn her place, that the only thing keeping me from adopting her was money. I didn't tell her I'd found it, but I started noticing things. How she only introduced herself as just Grace. How she smiled too wide when the caseworker came by. How she cleaned up after me like she was afraid of making a mess. She never asked for anything. Not once. I told my friend Trevor about the jar. He told me she'd called him from my phone, asking for small jobs around the construction site. He thought it was some inside joke between us. It wasn't. Then the caseworker offhandedly mentioned that a forever family had inquired about a girl Grace's age. Said it was just protocol, but my stomach dropped. That night, I barely slept. A few days later, her teacher called. Grace had been skipping lunch. I didn't get it until I came home and found her at the kitchen table, eyes wide as I walked in, hands scrambling to cover the jar she'd been counting. She said she was just organizing. I nodded, said nothing. Then came the night that broke me. I walked in after a double shift to find the apartment spotless, dinner waiting. Grace stood by the sink, exhausted. "I can be better," she whispered. "Please don't let them take me away." I lost it, not in anger, just collapsed inside. I brought the jar out and set it on the table. Her face turned red, and the tears came fast. She told me she overheard the caseworker mention how expensive adoption was. She thought if she saved enough, I wouldn't have to choose between her and rent. I told her I was scared too, that I hadn't adopted her yet because I didn't think I deserved someone like her, that I didn't believe I could be a good dad. She walked over and opened the notebook again, flipped to a page I hadn't seen. Reasons. Dad is my dad. He learned to braid hair. He brings me snacks when he gets off work, even when he's tired. He never breaks promises. That was it. That was the moment. The next day, we opened a joint bank account, called it the Family Fund. Trevor and some other friends helped fix up the apartment. The caseworker walked us through grants and aid I didn't even know existed. And some of those coins in her jar, turned out a couple were collectibles, worth far more than face value. 6 months later, I stood beside Grace in a courthouse. She held my hand tight, and this time, she called me Dad before the judge even asked.